Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. We're continuing on talking about how our founding fathers protected everyone's unalienable rights. Now, Romans 13:1, we talked a lot about this yesterday, in that the first part of it says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. Every soul, king, president, parliament, Congress, governors, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. These are the things that God has established. And you need to keep that in mind as you read down through Romans 13. There's a lot of misinterpretations of Romans 13 that that do not keep that in mind, because that's basically every soul is to be subject to the government. That's not what this verse is talking about. It's like one time a person was saying, well, isn't that what it says? And I said, you got to understand, this was written by a guy that spent a whole lot of time in jail. I don't think he meant it the way you're interpreting it. And so, but anyway, but with this, those governing authorities are the jurisdictions that God has established: self-government, family government, civil government, and church government. And with this, Jesus established church government, and we're going to get to that. But at this, let's just call it the faith arena. The faith arena, or the faith government. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. You see, when they established the Constitution, and they went through everything, and then there was a discussion about rights. And some said, well, everyone knows what our rights are. Others said, well, there may come a day when people do not understand these rights. And I believe we are living in that day today, or at least we're getting very close to it. And they said, we need to enumerate them so that they will know what these rights are. And you see, if you would, in the Bill of Rights specifically, from the line in the Declaration, among these being the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and then the 10 Bill of Rights, they enumerated the things that civil government doesn't have jurisdiction over. Because the first line of the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law. In other words, they are saying, here is what's out of bounds for the government. Here's what's out of bounds for it. And the first thing it mentions is the establishment of religion and not prohibiting the free exercise thereof. You see, this is really an acknowledgement of two jurisdictions. Number one, the acknowledgement of self-government, and secondly, the acknowledgement of the jurisdiction of the church, or the faith arena, if you would. That at that point, self-government, every person, and you can read statements from the Founding Fathers, that every person is directly accountable to God for their faith. And with that, that would incorporate the church or faith government into that. So they say government can establish no religion. But it also went on, and people love that today. But see, there's two sides of that coin. Government doesn't establish a religion, nor does it prohibit the free exercise thereof. And what most people today are wanting to do is totally use the Establishment Clause to eliminate all expression of religion and all expression of faith. And they were basically saying government's supposed to stay out of that. That is not the government's jurisdiction to either impose it or to restrict it. Government is supposed to stay out of that. Government is supposed to recognize the governing authority of God and leave that up to the individuals. But they are to be free to practice their faith, if you would, as long as it doesn't violate the rights of others. Amen. We'll continue on this again tomorrow. God bless you. Join us then.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.